Yeah, so James Shaw and James Shaw Pilates. So obviously teach Pilates, workshops, mentorships. So at the moment, I'm Pilates manager at East St James for Equinox. Funnily enough, you just mentioned Equinox just before. And then I run like a smaller freelance offering, not running around London like a headless chicken at 20
Yes.
different places. So for me, I've consolidated my work to one place,
Good stuff.
and then giving me then the opportunity to then focus on my own business rather than working for six different studios and then just being frazzled having 40 minutes journey from each place, like, and actually making
Yes.
more travel time than actual teaching time. So
It's crazy
um
how we do that, right?
yeah, like, and like how it was a normal, like it was just a
Yes.
normal thing to travel 40 minutes four ways, like, and
Yes.
then we're like, that's three and a half hours of your life a day
Right.
just in,
Yeah.
yeah, traveling. So yeah, so that's what the biggest change for me was, like consolidating my work into one place, which then gave me more opportunity and more free time to look at like the workshops and bits and pieces what I've got planned for moving forward.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about your workshops. It's so funny you say that about like traveling around, and I remember when I was working at this one gym, they had a massage therapist, this RMT, and this guy was like amazing. Big black guy. He was like a real strong athlete and just understood sport and understood all these things. But like he was also traveling to all these different locations. And I was as well, right? Like with my personal training, I had one spot and then this and then a boot camp here and then like driving around. So while he was like working on me, I said the phrase chasing paper. And I was like, man, I'm just like, I'm sick of just chasing paper, man. Just like going here and here to get money and then here and then drive an hour. And he's like, yeah, I hear you too, right? So we had this conversation about that sort of thing. I use the word chasing paper. Maybe the next 2 or 3 weeks, he's like, yeah, I'm quitting. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you're right, man. Like, I'm sick of this chasing paper. I'm just gonna set up one spot and stop going. And that was the last I saw of him. And I was like, oh, what about me?
You're like, damn it,
I'm like, I
I just
totally talked
agree.
myself out of like my own RMT. The guy's gone. I've seen him like maybe once since. Like he bounced once he realized that like he was chasing paper and doing too much. And then what had to go was that location, which meant I wouldn't see him again. I'm like, man, I shouldn't have given him that advice. Like, like it was tough, man. So anyway, so I feel that, and I've had to go through that as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit it is, yeah. So that was the main thing what changed. And I, like, now I've just got more headspace to think of things, and like you said, to action, to actually put it into an action plan and actually make it appear, rather than be like, oh yeah, I've got this
Yes.
idea to do something. And then realistically, if you're working a 52-hour week because you're working everywhere and everywhere, like, then you're like, oh well, I've not got enough time to
Right.
actually make anything happen. So
Mm-hmm.
um, and what I sort of got from like the pandemic and being able to connect with so many different people, like from so many like Pilates walks of life, like in general,
Yes.
like is this like the smaller studios. Like I got quite a few teachers message me, like, and asking questions, and then doing like saying like mentorship, oh, how did you do that, or how do you do
Yes.
this, and then
Love
I
that.
got me sort of thinking like in England, like you generally have to travel to a big city to do your workshops, to do your training, to do your additional, work.
Yes, you're
And
continuing your CECs.
yeah,
Yep.
and then that government led me to thinking, well, like I used to live in Birmingham, so I contacted my friends at Pilates Lounge, who are now Pilates Revolution, up in
Mhm.
Sutton Coldfield, and we were just like having a chat, like, oh, if I did this workshop, could I come and test it out for you? And then it got me
Mhm.
thinking, well, will that be a thing? Could I take the workshop to an area rather than the area having to come to the workshop? Like sort of,
Yes.
like demographically, especially in after a pandemic, would people want to travel to London for a workshop, or would it be easier for
Right.
one person to travel to their studio and provide them a workshop? Like, and
Yes.
sort of changing the narrative in terms of the mountain going to Muhammad rather, vice versa. So
Yes.
that's where I'm at with my workshops at the minute. Like, so two
Very cool.
signature, workshops what I could do, or like a bespoke one depending on like the size of team and what they actually want to get out of it, rather than it being a cookie cutter workshop. We just do this and we roll it out. It's more like I
Yes.
spend time with the studio owner, and then we then create something really personal to what they want for their business and for their teaching team.
Yes. And the thing that I like about that too, James, is that it gives the studio owners space, right? So now they don't have to create this content. They don't have to worry about empowering their team. If that's your area of passion, you could fly in, do it, and fly out, and they can continue to just encourage your team in the ways that they like to.
Yeah. Yeah, it just means that like it's more time efficient, and it doesn't have to be, yeah, it could be anything, like it's, like I'm lucky enough to have a contemporary and a classical background, so I can really merge like the two into one, like whether it be like a more powerful reformer sort of class, or whether it be back into classical. How do you teach classical on a modern piece of equipment? That sort
That's
of
good. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So
that's good versatility. So what is it that excites you about teaching teachers as opposed to just focusing on just teaching new students and stuff like that?
for like the teaching teachers, I feel like I like, when you want to make sure that somebody can get as much out of you as possible, like how much information could I give that person in that one workshop? I like
Yes.
to I like to give information, like anything what I know, like, oh, I'm not going to hold it back. I'm going to try telling as many people as possible,
Yes.
to make their teaching life either easier, like to give them a breakthrough moments like if I can rephrase something and somebody gets it, it's like, it's the same thing as they're actually teaching students, basically. You get the same aha moments. And for me, I think I said this the last time, in teaching you will learn, and in learning you will teach. Yeah, and it's exactly I feel like I learn as much from teaching either a teacher or a student as what they do from me teaching them. Like it's never just a one-way street.
Yes. I would add to that for myself. I enjoy teaching teachers because when it comes down to it, I gauge everything by impact. Like what is the scope of my impact and the influence that I can have? If I'm teaching individuals, that's one thing. But if I'm teaching teachers, what I've learned, what I've gleaned from my years, it's not like I'm some guru, but as I learn, I teach as well.
Yeah.
So now that gets extended into them, who they teach their people. Like it's like a pyramid scheme in a good way, right? Like I mean, like it's so so in
I know,
sense,
I love that. Like I love it how you went in the best way. I'm not a quick reach scheme.
Right, exactly. So if you act now, so that's exactly it. So I mean, so I think that's it. So how do we extend our reach, right? And sharing what we learn instead of being gatekeepers with it. And in times past, we've heard people say all the time where you learn something and it's like you hold on to that, and unless you take this workshop with me or you are part of this lineage, you're not going to learn. It's like that. I think that time and era is done.
Yeah, for sure.
In many ways,
I feel like nobody's reinventing the wheel. This is all like different people learn from different, like you resonate with different people, so you could take somebody else's workshop and we're teaching similar material, but you just don't really take much away from it. You can come to me and take a lot away with it, and vice versa. It's all people by people. It's not really the information what we're giving is very much like the same stuff, just repackaged in different ways. But what it is if I can get somebody else to feel something, because that's what it is, feeling. Like if you feel it, you're gonna remember it. It's gonna. So that's what my sort of take on it was. Like how can we make it more like workshops more accessible to the wider Pilates community? Like say not a small little town in Midlands of Birmingham, or the small town in Yorkshire where I'm from, like there's definitely no Pilates training going off in like where I come from, so how can I then tap into that market of like, oh, I go to them rather than them having to travel to London, do a hotel, do their Pilates training, then travel back, where they can just one stop, I come, go, they've not had to travel, they've not have to do anything.
Right, exactly. And when you look at those small towns and those areas where they when they need Pilates, right? Or there's a small and they don't have those supports. I've always asked people like, what's your ideal client and who's your target market and all those things. And then I've had people on here from like some small area in Wales or someone who is in like New Brunswick. And like they're the only Pilates studio for like a 500-mile radius, right? Sort of thing. So you're like, I take everybody. Like you can't really like you're just trying to connect with any and everybody. Like you're trying to
Yeah.
get everyone introduced to it. So it kind of flies in the face of your ideal person. But like what you're saying there, if we're trying to make it accessible and trying to get as many people moving as possible, you lend to that by coming in and giving them new tools and even just getting them to get new people because there's a guest speaker, right? Like you can use that and leverage and attract in different ways. So I think that's great. That's a great evolution of your business. Like that's come out of this.
Yeah, which before it would have been, my thought process was I would rent space in London and do it in London. And then like
Yes.
flipping that on its head because of everything that went off, it was, it changed, like evidently, because how many people would feel comfortable traveling to London in a room with,
Right.
yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. Now, what about virtual? Like, how has your virtual component to your business gone?
My, I had a really positive lockdown, like in many ways, like I had some really strong aha moments. My virtual, like it reconnected me with so many clients what I'd lost through to like moving away, and like
Yes.
I've got my client back, Alana, and her sister Dana in Vancouver. I teach both of them now. Like, and it's where I lost Dana, and now she's back. My client Per back in Sweden. He's back in my. Like it's reconnected me with so many students what I'd. Not lost, but like they just moved back away, So yeah, it's been great. I've still got a small virtual private offering. I've had to start my classes just because trying to like again, not doing the whole. I need to keep everything, going, like knowing when to edit your life rather than just putting something else on and something else on and something else on. And next minute I'm back in the same situation as well. Yeah, back on the definition of insanity, repeating the same thing over and over again.
Right. But I can see the joy in your face when you talk about reconnecting with our old clients. So, right, like there's something that like just as teachers in general, that it brings us so much joy to just be in the trenches working with our people. Like, I mean, like all this high level business strategy and travel is fun, but the reality is that like we have so much energy to be on the front lines and just teaching people. I could just see it on you. That's the thing that brings you joy.
Yeah, like it's just, I know it's everyone said like, but I don't like, I just feel like I don't work. Like when I teach, I just feel like and I don't even consider obviously I do teach Pilates, but like Pilates is the method, and then for me, the body's a puzzle. How am I going to like do, depending on what, like I've got 2 tennis players at the minute, so I'm learning quite a bit about tennis now, about the different grips. So, and then I've got this one client what needs to hit better, so I'm like, right, I now need to do some research on how I can best method, like give him a better serve. Just lots of, I love it because it actually challenges me in a certain way as well.
Have you signed up for tennis lessons yet? Because that's when I had a golfer and I went out and do it, man. I went and got a golf lessons when I started training golfers, just to understand the mechanics of it from my own body and where I got stuck, right? So
you know what? Now I'm like, what day could I put tennis in? Like I'm already on like, I've got a free bit on Tuesday between 9 and 10. They're going to get tennis in London.
Yeah, for real.
And I just use Pilates is like a vehicle. Like I just use it as a way to fix something. I just find out what they need to change, mend. And then like what skills and knowledge have I got to do that for that person? How can I use what I know to so that's why it's never boring. Like each client is always different, and I feel that that's what gives me the most joy. Like say I end up learning as well because I want to give them the best. Like on
absolutely. When you do that, James, like you said, the tennis player, for example, after working with him for a minute, do you feel like I'm just gonna work with tennis players? I'm gonna be the Pilates tennis guy. I'm gonna just like give it to everything else
Uh,
and just be the man when it comes. Like, do you get that feeling with certain things with
Yeah,
certain
do you
people?
know, I had triathletes last year. Do you know, I had three
Okay,
triathletes. I don't like
what's up,
because
yeah?
one tells the other, and then you end up just getting a bunch of mates what you train or free. So,
Yep,
yeah, and then I obviously wanted to work with runners, triathletes, and swimmers. Do you know, like it's yeah,
yes,
do you know, and I feel like this year it's definitely tennis is my tennis is my one. You know what I'm learning more about. So yeah,
right.
it's I would. I feel like it's just working with anybody's body now, and how can I
Mhm.
improve them, or how can I
Yes,
improve their sport, or whatever they want to get out of it. You know, so
absolutely.
there, so yeah, I do feel like if I got like I don't know if I said this the last time. I had like 7 pregnant women. Now I am pre and postnatally trained, but I feel
Yes.
like I attract a certain sort of pregnant woman. Do you know,
Mm.
like all the ones that I train, I've got a lady well, having triplets. Like they all still want to
What?
train. Do you know? But like I know I'm
Yes,
pregnant, but I still want to work out. Do you know? But obviously
yes,
safely, and that's like I end up getting like I don't know whether it's the energy or what it is, but
yes.
like we've all had babies now, do you know, like and then we're all back as regular clients, and it's like
Right,
so strange, but like I had a pregnancy phase, do you know, like I had
right.
like little
Yeah,
like
and
it
then you
sort
had
of
your
just
Iron
rolls
Man
in.
phase, and now you're in your tennis phase. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's funny you say that because, like, when I was in counseling, one of my profs said this, and I thought I've started to use this. He would say, like, when you're trying to learn your craft, dedicate a year to one area. So, for example, in the counseling setting, he would say, let's say you want to focus on family therapy. So for your birthday, ask for books on family therapy, go to conferences on family therapy, learn workshops, do all these different things and just dive deep on family therapy. And then next year, get into addictions and go to every workshop on addictions and then find and get books for Christmas on addictions and stuff. And then the next year, do like whatever it is. And he said, like, completely dive into one area, become an expert in that area, and then move on to the next area. So over the course of a decade, you've amassed such in-depth understanding on one piece, and then move to this piece, and then move to this piece. And we can easily do that in the Pilates world. Like, think about it. If you had like 5 or 6 pregnant women, and then all you did was offer pregnancy workshops, and then pre and postnatal, and then the next year you had your Ironman guys, and then you're on the
yeah.
sidelines at
I feel like
every.
I've subconsciously been doing this, but not
Yeah,
actually being
totally.
conscious, like, but it's actually happened. Yeah, you know, it's pretty true that. Yeah, you know, like, because all the work I did for running, swimming, cycling, you know,
Yes.
yeah, to understand more, you know, it's obviously, and then, like I said, pregnant women and then into tennis. So, yeah, you know,
Yes.
like, with subconsciously, it's already happening, you know, so,
Right. I kind of laugh at myself in saying that because I kind of get obsessive with that, and then I'll have like one basketball person, and then I'm like, I'm gonna hang a shingle and say that I'm the authority on this, right? And then like no one else comes. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do something, right? Like it just sometimes that blows up. Other times it continues, but there's that comes back to what I was saying about muscling through on things. Like I see one thing and I'm trying to manufacture, I'm trying to make it happen instead of just letting it flow and say, okay, well, that was a season where I had all football players and I haven't seen one in 6 months. So I guess I'm going to just move with all these golf guys that showed up, right? Like,
yeah, it's just, I feel like it is, and it is like the word of mouth thing, you know, like,
yeah,
because the two tennis players I teach, the first one told the second one, and then no doubt the third one's going to tell another one. And like, and it's
yes.
more when they see very game improve, they're like, oh, you know, when they start losing to the other person, they're like, who are you seeing again? Oh, you've got a
Yes.
Pilates teacher. Oh, can I
Right.
have his number? Do you know, basically, it's how.
Right. Yes. Unless they're sneaky with it. Cause like, like parents do that too, right? When you find like the parents on their notes, when you find a good babysitter, you don't tell anyone that you got a good babysitter because you don't want to lose them to the other person, right? So you don't want to give this person the upper hand. If you got the upper hand, it's not always good for business for you if they let everyone know that they got a Pilates guy to help them beat you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah. Okay, so it's more the first one. You need to like, yeah, the first one has to. If he keeps into himself, you're stuck then.
yes, too funny. One of the things that we were talking about last time was working with men specifically, and a reflection that one of my clients gave me He said, remember the phrase anti-testosterone? Where you're saying like for guys, we want something that's testosterone, like bench press and squats, and something that just sort of thing. And Pilates was too flowy for them. It didn't give you that same kind of release.
Yeah, I can sort of see. It just depends how you teach it. Do you know, like,
Yeah.
I get it. You know, like, when someone I definitely said this the last time. Like, when somebody's brand new, a guy, like, they might not have the best form, but I feel like if you're too picky at the start, and I know they've got to learn the basic work, but
Yeah.
you know, if you're too picky on that basic work, they ain't coming back. Do you know, like, and you have to give guys um that aha moments. They're like,
Yes.
oh, I feel, you know, like I've actually done something. Especially, you know, like
Achievement.
if yeah, you've got like being able to make, yeah, do you know, like for me, I always like finish off on something like pull up, or we'll do standing squat series. Do you know, like something where they're
Yes.
like, oh God, this is actually hard. Do you know, like,
Hmm.
do you know, something where they're like, oh, I did the
It's familiar, but you made it difficult in a new way for them.
Yeah, and something where they're
Yes.
not actually going to smash it. You know, they actually, you know, like they could fail at it, and then they're like, "Oh my God, you know, this is hard. I'm going to do that." You know, like I'm going to come back because I
Yes.
want to do that again.
Right.
So yeah, so that's how I get guys. Oh, this is how I feel like I get so many guy clients is because the first 3, 4, 5, I am just like it is maybe more of a workout for them. And then I'll
Yes.
start interlacing the nuts and bolts of,
Yes.
do you know, the nuances, do you know, which make it Pilates, and then I'll strip it back and add
Right.
bits in, and then I'll do it sneakily, you know, like on how they learn, do you know, rather than being too like, no, stop, hold, no, stop, no, stop, do you know, like, and
Yes.
if like guys don't want to hear that, like it's a
Right.
alpha, do you know, like more A types, do you know, like
Yes.
an A-type don't want to be told no. Do you know, like you, like
Yeah.
he's in charge. Do you know, like
Yes.
so
Yes.
for them to give you time, like as an A-type male, do you know, like you do have to be a bit more submissive and be clever in how you get them
Clever.
to
Yes.
do what you want them to do without them feeling that you've told them what to do. Do you know, like
Right. Yes. Someone said that like, you need sneaky ninja moves to be able to just slide in that challenging exercise or that intricate Pilates move in the midst of them feeling good, like they're still in control.
yeah, definitely. Like it's just it's yeah, it's like personality types. I feel like, do you know, like as probably you probably know more about, like I almost did disc training where you basically be able to
Assess.
categorize people into 4 different types, and then
Yes.
you sort of learn how you could best communicate with that person on a better level, and
Right.
that served me so well, like in because it does have a, do you know, like some people like to be touchy feely, so some like the
Of
do you know,
words of
like
affirmation. They want you to
that,
be like, yes, good job, well done. Hey, like they
yeah,
want
do you know,
feedback
like, and
every
some people
turn.
don't want to hear that, do you know, like some people are
Right.
more visual, do you know, like so you have to use, you know, your visual stuff. Some people don't like that, do you know, and they're like,
Mhm.
what? I imagining a cactus in a, you know, land, and you're like them sort of things. So yeah, so it's just more trying to tailor. You've definitely been to that class, you know, like where what I'm imagining what. Do you know, like, but some people love that. Do you know, like so, you know, some
Yes.
people can really connect, you know, like to
Yes.
imagining stuff. So,
Right.
but yeah, do you know, so being able, like you're the ninja, and you have to be sneaky in how you like um teach them, yeah, to get them to do what
Yes.
you want them to do. You know, like your sort of um, teaching style has to adapt, you know, to the person. You know, you
Absolutely.
can't just be like head nod, chin lift, roll up, roll back, sit down. You know, like just that sort of boom, 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 boom. You know,
Right.
how can I use my words to get the most out of this person? And I think that's something what I definitely learned on
Yes.
um, oh, I'll tell you this one. So basically, I had 2 clients where I used to manhandle too much. And I used
Okay.
to put them into the positions, and I used to do too much with my hands to them. They came virtual. And I always
Yes.
thought, oh, do you know, she's a bit of an airhead, do you know, she don't really get it. Do you know, so instead of, do you know, like giving her the power, I used to take the power away from her because I'd be like, no, no, foot on your
Yes.
foot back and move around and, you know, and do too much.
Yes.
And then throughout lockdown, she came I obviously couldn't touch her, and she had to listen. But I didn't demonstrate. I just talked on
Yes.
Zoom, and her practice now, she's like a different person. Like teaching
Amazing.
her in real life, she doesn't go what like this, but not change anything like she used to. Do you know, like,
Yes.
and
Yes.
she's. I'm like, you're like a different student. Do you know, like you're like
Right.
literally. I don't even have to correct her. Do you know, like, unless it's a powerful correction where I'm
Yes.
actually going to make an impact on her practice. Where
Yes.
before I'd probably have to touch her every exercise, you know, to put a foot in the position, in
Yeah.
the correct position. Where now she knows where the correct position is. Yeah. So
Right.
um,
Interesting.
knowing when to do less, do you know, to get more. Do you know, like, because I would have just
Right.
said, but she was not going to get ever going to get it. And then the pandemic showed that she actually did have it. I just was doing too much for her. You know, instead now she's got the power
Wow.
itself to
Yes.
do the work. So
Yeah. That's a humbling life
so yeah,
lesson.
little dinner definitely. So like yeah, just check in with your students to make sure that you're not doing it for them, and then they get lazy and just let you do it because they'll be like, "What? Where's the foot?" And I'm like, "Toes on the foot bar, toes on the foot bar, toes on the foot bar." And you know, when you put the toes on, then they never have to learn where the toes go. Yeah, dinner. So
Yes.
that's one
Yeah.
definite thing. I'm definitely better with my words.
Yeah, I've learned that too. And just hearing different people teach, I learned so much just from these conversations. And even cues like I can't remember who it was, but saying like instead of like adjusting their feet for them or saying like move your left foot, it'll be like, hey, stop. Look at your feet.
Yeah. Is there something wrong with
Okay,
your
now
feet?
go.
And
Right.
then
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
don't give them the book. Do you know, like else they'll never read. Yeah, do you know, make them read the book. Do you
Make
know?
them read the book. Well said. Yes. And for those who are watching, I'd love to hear just in the comment section, what are some of those ninja cues that you use to get people to understand what they're doing instead of doing it for them? Because James, like I'm guilty of that too. Like it's not necessarily over cueing, but like you learn one language to teach them, and then we settle into that language. When the reality is that if we stretch them, they really can learn other languages for them
Yeah,
to move.
for sure. It's
Yeah.
yeah, you know, like it's definitely like a lot of bone cues on like with it being virtual. Do you know, like people know where do you know their body is? Do you know, like until they get used to it. Do you know, like that's what I tended to use when we first went virtual. Like more, you know, like reach your hand away from your face. Do you know, like
Yes.
just randomly. Do you know, like reach your
Right.
toes away from your belly button. Pull your belly button back away from your toes. Do you know, like that sort of, you know where your belly button is. You know where your toes are. Do you know
Yeah.
without
It's just
being able to do.
landmarks. Nice, very cool. So, and you're working at Equinox, you're a studio manager there as well,
Yeah, so
associate.
I've just taken on like the Pilates manager role at East St James, which is Equinox E's a little like it's the elevated version of Equinox, so it's
Okay,
a
like a
little
boutique.
smaller in numbers. Yeah, you know, it's a smaller footprint. It's they do your laundry, you know, like yeah, basically they
Yeah.
do everything for you. You know, like
Oh,
it's a
very
one
cool.
stop. Yeah, so you leave your kit there, they launder your kit. You know, yeah, it's very very member centric. You know, it's a beautiful space to work in.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm not going to get you to speak on behalf of the corporation, but at the same time, how is it? Like, do you have staff working in there, and how is that team? How is it working within that team there?
It's you know it's so lovely to be part of the team. We currently we have a restriction on our studio because it's a smaller space, so we can only have one member, one teacher in. So our team's a little, you know, we don't get to usually there'd be two teachers, two students, and you get that sort of vibe going off, and you're like, oh, I
Yes.
forgot that exercise. Do you know, like I've not taught
Yes.
that in ages. I'm definitely putting that in. Do you know, like
Yes.
so yeah, we're just at that point where hopefully, fingers crossed, that can change. So it's a little bit more. The team is back. You know, there's still a team there, but you know, we don't see each other. You see each
You
other
don't
when you pass to
congregate.
when one person finishes. Yeah,
Yes.
so for that we're doing like a workshop next week after like just a mixer for ourselves because we've got 4 5 Pilates teachers what work there, you know, so it's more like
Mm,
we have a piece of equipment, you're going to teach a 20-minute session of not repertoire. really important, like it not, like it can be a flow, it can be, whatever you feel
Yes.
interested and want to feel, but you want to give to the team, just to
Amazing.
get, like the juices flowing again, because you can
And
definitely get into
yes.
that same old, like for me personally, like spine corrector, not really used it since I've been back, so I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
like definitely want a little bit more, like get the spark and like, oh my god, I
Yes.
forgot about that. How good's that? Like that? It
Yes.
happens to us all. Like you get into reformer caddy chair, like, and then forget about certain pieces, but you're like, oh, I'm gonna bring them back
Oh
out.
yeah, totally. Yes, exactly. For those who didn't hear it last time, can you just share a little bit about how you found Pilates? Because I know you had a career before as well, too, right?
Yes. So I was a hair colorist for many years, and my student, my client, Claire from Pilates Revolution in Sutton Coldfield, she yeah, she used to come in. She was like, "Come and try it." She were opening her first studio, and I went, and I got it. Like I loved it. Like from day one, even though I don't know. I said this like I used to have to sit on two blocks with bent knees to do spine stretch forward. When you actually
Yes,
think
yeah.
what my body used to be
How
like,
jacked up her body was when we started
yeah,
this game.
like how
Yep.
tight my hamstrings were, and then
Yes.
doing anything legs above my hip, no legs vertical to the ceiling, like dying. And like
Shaky. Hip
now,
flexors crying.
I'm about that much being off of the splits. Like
Yes.
obviously, like not a useful thing, but I'm just like from where I couldn't sit up straight to
Right.
now I can do
Yes.
virtual like front splits. Um,
Yeah.
so
It's an
yes,
accomplishment. Sorry to jump in there, but like I mean, you downplayed the fact you're almost being able to do splits. But like as a guy, like I remember in my teacher training doing like stomach massage, and I could not reach down to take a spring off without taking my feet off because my hip flexors were just dying, right? Like that sort of thing. So for us, it's light work now. So I'll celebrate the fact you can almost do splits because
yeah,
I know that was like for guys, like that's or
it's
whatever.
but that's just it's
Just knowing
like
where
you
you were.
said when people say, like it's just constant practice. Like and
Yes.
constantly lengthening my hamstrings. I literally like it's a daily chore. Just to make
Yes.
sure that
Brush your
like
teeth,
oh.
stretch your hamstrings.
Yeah, like anything what I'm gonna do, like so say if I'm training with a trainer at the gym, I'm like, no hamstrings. I cannot obviously I do train them, but like it's gotta be smart training. I can't just
Yeah.
deadlift my life, like and basically then can't walk and I can't touch
Yes.
my toes for 2 weeks.
Right.
Like and then I have to spend twice as much time stretching.
Struggles. That's true.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'll do hamstrings, but we have to do it in a smart way. What's not going to like ruin my life for 2 weeks.
Right.
Uh, yeah, so then I took my first class with Claire and I loved it like instantly. And then I started working at Pilates Lounge and then I moved to London and then the rest is history. When I moved to London, I packed hairdressing in and went full time Pilates, which
Wow.
like really silly, never looked back. Like it's just, in fact, I got asked today, would I go back to hairdressing? And as I go back to my old salon if I could have the same workmates, but I won't want to do the work. Does that make sense? I miss the team of people I used to work with like
Yeah, it's
immensely. Like,
yes.
but I just don't think I want to do that job just because it's the same thing. I used to have an impact on somebody's life for an hour, but instead I
Yes.
give them hair. Now I give them Pilates. Like it's a very similar thing. I used to fix their life through hair color, but now I
Yeah.
fix their life through Pilates. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I'm yeah, I love Pilates. Like now it's
You're in deep, man.
yeah. Like no, like literally Pilates geek. I like gush about Pilates for hours on end. Because I do honestly feel like the actual I just don't work, but I get paid for
Yes.
it. It's like I've just got a hobby what I make money off of.
Right.
But in the
Yeah.
most rewarding, gratifying way, possible.
Yes, that's the conversation I was having with my son yesterday in the car, just talking about that. He was saying, I can't remember who it was, just saying like, that person, like, it's like they get paid to do nothing. They just do this all day. And I was like, yeah, I'd love for you to do that. I was like, wait a minute, that's what I do. Like, like I love this. Like, this is exactly what I get paid to just work out and teach people to work out and like their bodies and feel better. Sounds like a good gig to me. I hope that you find a career where you don't feel like it's work at the end of your day.
Yeah, like, yeah, it is a dream, and but I feel like every Pilates teacher you'll ever speak to will have that same, like, will say the same as what. Like, I feel like it's just an actual thing within the Pilates community. Like, if you're a
Yes.
teacher, you've got a certain set of qualities. What
Mhm.
you're a giver. Do you know, like the amount of
Yes.
energy what you have to be able um to give Pilates, give Pilates, you know what I mean, like teach
Yep.
Pilates on a daily basis, like it's, I feel like everyone has the same, like it's, no,
Yes.
nobody be like, oh yeah, I feel like I really work hard as a Pilates teacher.
Yeah.
Like we do
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
hard, but like it's not like oh, I work a 9 till 5 Monday to Friday, hate my life, can't wait for the
Yes.
weekend, like sort of feel it's like I can
Yes.
still work 40, 45 hours a week, but you
Mhm.
don't feel like I've worked for, no, it's just a different feeling.
True. Absolutely. Like I said to my son yesterday too, like there's times that I have a busy weekend. I was like, I can't wait to get to work on Monday because at least I know what my day looks like. You know what I mean? I know I'm looking forward to Susan. I'm looking forward to so and so online, like all these different things. Like that's fun and predictable. The weekend is crazy, running around, driving, and waking up early for this and speaking. Like so, it's so funny how there's almost this inverse relationship where like I look forward to my work week more than I look forward to my weekend at some points, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah, I definitely have that very similar feeling. Like
yeah, yeah.
work is just easy. Like it's I love the structure of it. It's such a
Yeah.
rewarding thing.
The did you ever feel, and once again, this is kind of like my own reflection as you were talking about moving from hairdressing um, to Pilates. Did you ever have a fear that once your hobby became your job, that you'd lose your love of your hobby? When you turned Pilates to going to a full-time 40-hour week thing, that you would fall out of love with it? Do you have any fear of that as you're making that transition?
No, not what I can recollect. Like I do feel like now I do feel like I need a hobby. Like as what like something else, because like Pilates, as much as I love it, I do like I train it, teach it. Like I'm all everything what I generally do is Pilates centric. Like it's all
Yes,
revolves around it. So like lately I've actually been thinking about I need to bring something back in. Something new, something where like it's a almost I'm doing too much Pilates, dare I say. Like
yes,
in everything
yes,
is, like you need to have that like mental clarity to take your mind away
for
from it,
sure.
to love it, rather than
Yeah,
could I do too much Pilates? Can you do too much Pilates? Like,
right,
like
right.
teaching, like, can you be into it so much, but then you actually like fall out of love with it? Not,
Right.
no, I'm not at that point, but, I'm
No.
thinking, somebody went to me, well, yeah, but what else do you do? What do you do for fun? And I'm like, um,
More
Pilates,
Pilates?
yeah,
Yeah.
Pilates workshop,
Yeah.
go to Pilates, find a new teacher, see a different teacher, like, and it got me thinking, like, oh, like I used to, there were so many other things what I used to do, like, and I'm
Yes.
like, like maybe there is a little bit more room to put something new in. So if anybody's got any ideas of new hobbies for me, yeah, feel free to put those in.
Tennis?
Yeah, yeah, but no, because it'll go back to Pilates. I'd be like, oh, you taught me that, and then I'm like, in my head, I'll be like, yeah, but then I could do so and so, so and so. So then that event, oh, that's the same movement and
But
same
you can't
connection as
shake
that,
that
and
though.
then I
Like,
can
geez,
like, it'll
you
just
can't
be.
shake that. It'll be the same thing. I could say crocheting. You'll be like, oh, crocheting. Well, wow. If I use this muscle like this, then that's the same as when I'm doing this, and maybe like you'll
Yeah,
find it
yeah.
anywhere. Like it's
To be fair, I probably would. I could. I could connect anything back to it and go like, oh. But yeah, I'm definitely on the lookouts to new things. And I feel like I said, when you had everything taken away from you, like most things taken away from you, and you start thinking, oh well, maybe it would be nice to learn something new, something which
yes,
doesn't have anything to do with my passion. Let's see if I could ignite a new one and find
yes.
something new I love.
Well, I'll look for that in your post. Let's see when I want to see you like I don't know, take up like stamp collecting or
Yeah,
something. I don't know. Yes. Any suggestions for hobbies for James? Please put it in the comment section. I think
yeah.
he's
Other
open
than
to
Pilates.
all other than Pilates or anything remotely connected to Pilates. So maybe something non-movement. Can you like, I don't know.
Yeah, like I would end up going into
Fascinating.
myself and being like, what do you like? What don't you like? What would you want to do? You know, like,
See,
and then
dance
going,
is that's connected to Pilates. That's almost like we're stumping ourselves at this point because like everything is related to movement, and Pilates
yeah,
is movement. So I'm like,
it's how can like the other thing, like, yeah, meditation or, you know, going either, yeah, you know,
man, no, exactly, yeah, yeah, yeah. Those like
something
were
where
those coloring things?
you're not moving.
Yes, movement.
Ceramics, I like that. You know, like, in fact, you know, I'm watching. Oh, I'll probably just answer my own question here. We're God, it's called All What Glitters. And back when I was like at college, I did silversmithing, and it's about
Oh yeah,
silversmiths and jewelry making. Oh,
yes,
you know, here we go. Look, I've just found out what I'm going to do. I'm going to find a jewelry making course. You know, yeah. So I was
yeah.
watching this All What Glitters about like making silver
So
jewelry.
cool.
So I've just answered my own thing. I mean, like, look at that. You know, I
There you
got to
go.
speak about Pilates for 45 minutes and then find my next new hobby.
Right. You'll be like that massage therapist, and you'll be like, "I'd like to announce I've quit Pilates,
And
and
I'm now,
these are my pendants that I'm selling online." We're like, ah,
you're like, imagine, yeah, you're like, damn it, I've done it again. Uh,
I've done it again.
yeah, here's my bracelets.
Yes, exactly. That would be awesome. I've thought about like doing like silversmithing or like glass blowing or something like that. I always thought that'd be something cool to just take up. Like it's just unrelated to what I do and just learn something new, right? So and
Yeah,
you do come back with clarity to the thing that you're passionate about as well. So yeah, that's
so well, watch your space for like say on my story when I'm making a pendant and a brooch.
there you go. That's too funny. I
Reading
should
on
get a
Pilates book. Oh
there you
God, you
go.
know, like I've tried to read non Pilates books. Like it's just I end up yeah.
You tie it back to Pilates. Same
But yeah,
thing.
the bookshelf is basically just books on either movement, muscles, anatomy.
Yes. Yep. That's so funny. CSL Pilates and Puppies. That's an interesting handle. Hi. So, very cool. Well, yeah, I think that is that's awesome. So jewelry.
Yeah, so well, that's the next one for sure.
Hmm. That is too funny, man. It's been fun catching up with you again. Like it's so funny
No,
how
thank you
like
so much.
yeah,
No,
I
yeah, no, it's
love
a
seeing what
yeah,
you're.
just easy. Yeah, definitely easier this time around than the first time, or a lot more relaxed, shall we say, and less
Yes,
caffeinated.
yes. Hi, Chris from CSL Pilates and Puppies. Love to hear more about you. Message me after. I'd love to see what Pilates and Puppies looks like and what that's about. How intriguing is that? James will be changing his handle to, James Shaw Pilates and Pilates and Pendants. There you
Maybe.
go.
Oh, we've got the name now. Do you know what I mean? It's
There you
got to
go.
happen. Do you know? Just making drop pendants for everyone
Yes.
with Pilates
So
logos on.
right. So funny.
Oh, I can make a Pilates logo on a pendant. Do you know, like
Right.
literally, here we go. We've brainstormed. We've got the idea. We've got the concept. I just need
We
to get
got
the
the
training
handle.
and
Yes.
actually make the jewelry now.
Yes. Too funny. Yeah. We'll circle back next year and see where you're at. And
Awesome, Martin. Thank you so much again for having me
yes,
back on. Great chatting with
my
you.
pleasure.
And again, I feel like I've had at least three haha moments, you know, like within the space of our conversation. And it is a little bit like, I know when you said at the start about therapy, you like, I do feel like this is like a little bit of Pilates therapy, you know, like
Yes.
for the watchers, for the person having the conversation. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, man. I'll sign you off. I'll send you the
Awesome.
replay later. Blessings, my friend.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye,
Take
guys.
care. Thanks, everyone.